Too many people believe what homeless people look like or the guy on the corner. If people saw who the homeless really were, they'd be shocked to know how many of them involve children that are living in cars and in woods and hotels. And
1 in 16 children under the age of 6 has experienced homelessness or instability.
The reason I started Firm Foundation was exactly to give kids a firm foundation.
We need these children to settle into routines and see what it is to have boundaries and consistency so they can thrive. We have a very diverse group of families that come to our program.
We're often the difference if that child gets a foundation for life or ends up homeless. A lot of these children that we deal, they don't even know that they're homeless. This has become their norm. I mean, some of these kids have seen a lifetime of stuff that no adult should have to experience. That Megan and her team are helping these kids as a generation to demonstrate what empathy looks like, to demonstrate what healthy lives look like, is a really big deal to me personally. I mean, if I had to stop everything I'm doing, that would be probably this Firm Foundation would be the one thing that'd be the last ship to go down, if you will, because it's that important to me.
Hello, everyone. Tracy Lewis with We Are Wintergarten. I'm joined with Pastor Scott, who is the CEO and founder of Matthew's Hope, and Megan Galamback, who is the preschool director of Matthew's Hope's Firm Foundation Preschool. We are in episode 44 of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, where we're going to be talking about the children in homelessness. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am married to my husband, Carl. We just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We have 2 kiddos. My son, Nicholas, will be 19 in August, and he is in college studying electrical engineering.
Nice.
And our daughter, Vera, will be 17 in November, and she is going to be a junior at West Orange High School.
Awesome.
We moved to the Winter Garden area 16 years ago. So we've seen this area grow leaps and bounds. And we love to volunteer in our community and do service projects together as a family. That's really important to us. And that's actually how I came to know Matthew's Hope.
Nice. And it looks like you're an active member of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And various volunteer organizations and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm a new member of the Kiwanis International, which is a huge honor.
Megan, so how were you first introduced to Matthew's Hope, the Firm Foundation Preschool?
In my previous role as a director, I was very moved by the Matthew's Hope mission, and I actually got our previous preschool involved in a volunteer project. And through that, became very interested and passionate about what they were doing to serve our community. And when I left that role, I wanted that service to continue. So I did some volunteer work and then found out they had a preschool. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to go back and be a director again or if I was going to go back to teaching. And I just really left that in God's hands to guide me. And when I learned they had a preschool, I sent a message, asking if I could just volunteer in the afternoon.
Okay.
That quickly led to a part-time afternoon position. And my husband said to me, I think you're going to be the director there within 6 months. And I just kind of laughed and I said, no. And it was actually 3 months that I became the director of the preschool. So
that's great. And how long ago was that?
This will be my 7th year.
Oh, wow. That's
I'm
great.
into my 7th school year.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Sure does.
What exactly is the Firm Foundation Preschool?
The Firm Foundation Preschool is a part of the Matthew's Hope Ministry, and it is guided to work with our guests in our Moving Forward program. We also work very closely with our community to bring in families from our community, working a lot with single parent families.
I love that.
So the children that come into our program, one of the questions we always get is, are these children homeless? No, they're not. Any child coming into our program is either coming in from our community or they're coming in from our Moving Forward program.
Gotcha. And Scott, why was this important for you to establish a preschool with the mission of Matthew's Hope?
I think the biggest thing, that the reason I started Firm Foundation was exactly to give kids a firm foundation. I had a friend of mine that had run a Montessori school, and at the time I was doing mission work over in the Dominican and helping a friend of mine establish a school over there. And I just happened to be going to have lunch with my friend, and I asked if I could watch for a while, and I was so intrigued by what was happening with these young children and how they were interacting with one another, and the things that, I'm listening to 3 and 4-year-olds talk at a very interesting level, and I was that kid. I'm dyslexic, ADD, a touch of OCD, everything you don't want to be, that they didn't diagnose back then, but I was the kid being held back. Was, I couldn't retain things. There was just problems all the way around. I can remember people talking about in front of me, talking about me being a deficient learner and things like that. And even a young kid, I understood what deficient meant, so I really played on my psyche as well. And so I'm helping my friend Sarah with this school. And I said, what if we, after watching the Montessori things, what if we did Montessori? And she agreed with it. And that's what we established in a little town in the Dominican that has no power and water. And it changed that community. It's a community mixed of Haitians and Dominicans. That's like oil and water right there. And if you go in that community today, they're all brothers and sisters. So I really loved that we were setting up a foundation for these kids to build from. And so when it came time to, God kind of woke me up in the middle of the night and said, you're going to start a school. It was like, I'm doing Montessori. And then everybody said, well, what do you know about starting a school? I said, nothing about it. I said, I was a student once. Does that count? And they said, what do you know about Montessori? I said, I know what I saw. And I said, I know that I would have been much better prepared for life had that been around when I was a kid. And so that's really where it started. And, fortunately, I was able to get investors in the community to come alongside me, and we started that school. I remember how old the school is now. It's
10 years old.
Is it 10 years now? Yeah, out of our 14-year history. And it's probably the one out of my entire ministry, it's probably the thing I'm most proud of, because I think that long after I'm gone, the reality of it is I have not a lot to say today, because Megan has taken my vision and taken it to a whole nother level. I jokingly say that she's an angel that fell through Disney. Or a Disney character that fell through heaven, I guess, could have happened.
There you go.
But she was the exact right person, exact right time. That's nothing against the people the people that helped us get started, but it was the right time. And Megan, I don't think really ever had a desire to really have a bigger school again, as much as it was important to her what that school would look like, how. The fact that we didn't have to hide God in the picture. We don't force it on anybody, but we don't ignore the fact that that's who we are. And so all that to say is that, the first thing is putting a dream into work, and it happened rapidly. And it's funny you mentioned Kiwanis, because our playground came from Kiwanis. They were turning 100 years old. And that's how Charlene and I first got together too. So I tell people from Kiwanis, I got Charlene and I got a $100,000 playground. Pretty good deal. But anyhow, so we've had an ongoing relationship with Kiwanis. So, but yeah, it's been interesting to see how it has all worked, and that Megan has been able to take literally, all I gave her was a seed. Okay. And then ask her how much water she needed and what tools she needed. But other than that, she's taken this thing to another level.
Megan, is there a difference between a preschool and a daycare?
Yes. If you ask a teaching professional if there's a difference, yes, there is a difference. A preschool is going to have enclosed boundaries and expectations for families. So when we're working with families who are coming in from homelessness, one of the first things we see with these children is there are no boundaries. There are no expectations for them. In our preschool, being a preschool, yes, we are a preschool / daycare, but first and foremost, a preschool. We need these children to settle into routines and see what it is to have boundaries and consistency so they can thrive. We do have flexibility in our schedules to accommodate our single, parent families. And we work with them on their schedule as much as possible. But there's also an expectation for the parent as well, because we're also trying to mentor and guide our parents. So we're looking at the whole child. And when we plan and set goals for them, whereas a daycare, the parent can bring them in at noon, 3:00 in the afternoon. That doesn't work at our school. The child needs to be there by a certain time in the day so that they're not missing the core part, and it's to help the parent be accountable. And again, we do have a formalized curriculum that we're using. It's not just free-for-all play. There's a lot of great daycares out there, and I respect them. But to line with the goals of Matthew's Hope, we have to have those boundaries and expectations. So,
and in the program, is it just children in the Moving Forward program or other children in the mix of that?
No, it's not just the Moving Forward guests that we work with. And that was something I really wanted to get out to the community when I became the director, is we are open to the community. I think it is so wonderful for the children to see, if they're coming in, just to see what healthy family relationships look like. And we have a very diverse group of families that come to our program. We have families that have parents that are doctors, teachers, lots of teachers. But it's just so nice for a child to be with a community of families that may have more structure and be more goal oriented. And the nice thing is no family knows which family is in the program and which is not. That is something that it's not necessary.
Right.
It's just being respectful and teaching them we respect all, no matter where you work or where you're coming from.
That's one of my favorite parts about it. It's the only area that we go out of homelessness. I think it's fair to say that some of our families, that we're often the difference if that child gets a foundation for life or ends up homeless, because childcare is so expensive.
Yes.
And the other part about the Montessori-based aspect of that I want to share too is that it was important to me that kids didn't learn how to just regurgitate information, but they literally learned skill sets and how to critically think. And that's something that Meg and her staff are brilliant at getting these kids to really think. And it's so fun to sometimes to have conversations with them when I come in, because it's like, oh, okay, thank you, little man.
Right.
We got at our Brevard campus, the playground is right past we got to pass the playground from our office to the outreach center. And there's just one little boy who I call him the mayor, because if he's out there, everyone that walks by, I don't care how many times you walk by, he says, hello and good morning.
Aww.
Hello and good morning. Hello. And I could walk by 5 minutes later. Okay. And then we have another child that her thing is to say goodbye to you at the end of the day. And it's this amazing thing. But, like Megan said, such a mix. I've seen families that are coming out of some pretty dire situations, working alongside the child they're playing with. Their dad works at NASA.
Yes.
And that's a very cool thing. And like Megan said, that's nobody's business who is who. But it does demonstrate what healthy relationships can look like. Because a lot of these kids have been exposed to some stuff.
So when a lot of people think stereotypically a homeless person, they rarely picture a family with children. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, the truth is that too many people believe what homeless people look like, or the guy on the corner. Most of those people panhandling aren't even homeless. And if they are, why wouldn't they just either catch our bus to Matthew's Hope or walk over to our place? And so before people pass something out their window, they need to think about that. Are they enabling, or are they making somebody who's just, that's made their job and they're not homeless at all? Yeah. But I think that has set what people believe homelessness is. And the reality of it is that we are seeing more and more families, especially right now, with the housing crisis being what it is, we are seeing more families either homeless or on the verge of homelessness, which I think our role plays even a bigger role in some of these children's lives. Because if we don't catch them at this age, then what we might be doing is just seeing the next generation of homelessness. Right. And we've had generations of homelessness, 2 and 3 generations come through Matthew's Hope. So I think that if people saw who the homeless really were, they'd be shocked to know how many of them involve children that are living in cars and in woods and hotels. And it's
so Megan, for
the best.
Definitely. So for the children that are experiencing homelessness or that are in the Moving Forward program, how important is it for them to have access to this good education that the Firm Foundation is providing in that safe space? What does that do for a child?
It sets them up for success. When they come into us and they've, been under these horrific living conditions at no fault of their own, the first thing we have to do is connect with them. And that can take months and months of them. So while, their parent is trying to rehabilitate themselves and move forward, we are working with them to help overcome some of that trauma. And while we're not licensed therapists, but all of our teachers have trauma training to work with young children. And with the statistics growing, 1 in 16 children under the age of 6 has experienced homelessness or, instability.
You think what she just said, that's a nationwide figure, right?
That's just Florida.
That's just Florida. Okay.
Florida.
1 in 6.
1 in 16. I mean, come on.
I know.
I don't think people, think about that. That when you look in a classroom, what you might be looking at, any classroom.
Well, high schools even. With all the, so Scott, what are the unique challenges faced by your guests that have children?
I think one of the challenges is
school's out.
Well, right now with school out, that certainly creates more problems because a lot of services that are accessible to them are no longer available during the summer. A lot of people, because they move during the summers, is when most people move. A lot of times that's when their leases are coming due. So they're finding out that all of a sudden they were paying one amount. All of a sudden that is $200 or $300 more to re-sign, and they suddenly fall into homelessness with no idea 3 months before that they were going to be homeless. So it creates those challenges. I think the challenges that we also have is that a lot of these children that we deal, they don't even know that they're homeless. This has become their norm. And so when they sometimes see what it really looks like, it kind of, so we try to be very cautious about even using the word homeless, because I personally don't believe there's such a thing as a homeless person. There's people that happen to have become homeless. I used to say I never saw someone born homeless, and that's no longer true either, because I've watched infants and I've watched even preemies living in the woods. And it's horrifying to me to see that. But I think the general public just doesn't see that.
Megan, how important is it for children to learn the life skills like empathy and responsibility for decision making?
Well, it's a necessity to get through life, and that's where the Montessori method of what we do comes into play. For those that are not familiar with Montessori, it's a scientific, that emphasizes on a child's natural psychological, physio-emotional state, and they develop naturally through their learning. So with that is going to come less stress. And when they're less stressed, they're going to be able to retain and do more of what they're doing in the classroom. But, empathy cannot always be taught. We can model, we can set them up for success, and help guide them. But empathy is a skill that we, it's something that's deep inside of us. And when these children come into us that have seen a lot of things, that can be very challenging. And so it's so important that they be in an environment where they feel secure and feel safe, and they can see empathy being modeled. Because a lot of times our parents that are in the Moving Forward program, or even just a family that's struggling financially. I mean, if we think about how our day-to-day life is just raising children when we have the resources
Right.
and the means to do it, as a parent, I often, my heart goes out to how stressful it must be when you're trying to be the best parent you can, but deep down you feel like you're failing your child, but you're trying. And it's, how do I put food on the table? And so with that behavior, you've got an irritable parent who's maybe not, putting their best foot forward with parenting. And then that trickles down to a child that, becomes irrational about things because they're just reacting.
Mhm.
And so it's really important that our environment, that we be trained to remain very patient and spend the time with each child to connect with them so that they feel safe and they can get that out.
And we try very hard to connect them with resources that are either inside Matthews Hope or partnerships that we have in the community when it comes to mental health and counseling and things like that. Because as Megan said, I mean, some of these kids have seen a lifetime of stuff that no adult should have to experience. Mm-hmm. And it's not always because they have bad parents. It's because they have nothing, and the only place they can be, a lot of bad things are happening around them. Mm-hmm. So even with the best of intentions, but I also tell people this too, is when you enclose people, whether it's in a camp, a hotel room, car. I've watched families live in vans with 4 or 5 kids. It's crazy.
Water.
We've all had the thing where someone says, "Mom, mom, 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 mom," and finally you go, "What?" Well, that what can turn into all of a sudden the hand coming up, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad person. That's a person who is now at their breaking point, and that child is going to be in the middle of that storm, whether they want to or not. Mm-hmm. And so trying to sort through that is a challenge at best. But I will also say that we've learned how to communicate very well within our ministry without breaking any kind of HIPAA guidelines or whatever, to make sure that we're going to get these people what they need as best. Now, mm-hmm. Here's the other side. Sometimes it's well beyond our pay grade. It's well beyond any resource that we have. And I think Megan would agree with this. The toughest part is when you're dealing with a family and you realize you've taken it as far as you can go. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean we quit caring, but we also realize limited resources, and you're trying to balance that and make sure that you are a good steward of what you have, and that gets challenging because there's limited spots in the school. I'm always getting calls. You want to advertise? We do not need to advertise, and they're coming. We're good. But there's such a need out there for what we do, mm-hmm. And I think that most people don't even have appreciation how different, how special Firm Foundation is. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that has to do with Megan and the staff that she has put together. And I will tell you, it's funny because Shelley has even said to me before, she goes, "I wouldn't want to work for Megan." Okay.
Please tell me.
Megan, she's going to do it right, mm-hmm. and she has an expectation, mm-hmm. and you need to make that expectation. She's also a wonderful coach. She's going to, if something's happening that doesn't look right to her, this is the same thing with Shelley and other people in my leadership. They're very good at coaching people as far as they can coach them. But it comes down to it, if we can't get you there, we're going to move on, because ultimately God has entrusted us with these children or with these people, but then specifically these children. Mm-hmm. And we take that very seriously. We want to make sure that we do all things with excellence to the best of our ability, or don't do it at all.
Right.
We're always encouraging growth in our teachers. We have teachers that want to go on and get further education. We try to find ways to make that happen, and we get creative. Most of the time, it's kind of creative, but we get it done. Mm-hmm. So
Megan, is homelessness something that you and your teachers teach the young children about to try and prevent them from developing the same attitudes and misinformed ideas that many of the adults have about the subject?
We do. It's actually comes up in our classrooms several times through the week. When our outreach center was attached to the little building that we're in now, I often tell Scott how much I miss that, because it really gave the kids a chance to see, number one, to see God's work, working. But it gave us an opportunity for them to, firsthand see and talk about what homelessness is. Now the outreach is around the corner. We still have the opportunity. We've had some guests that have, been next door or across the street, and we use that opportunity to talk to them because they will say, Miss Megan, that man has a tent in the woods. And we're like, yep, that's where he stays. And he doesn't have a house. No, he doesn't have a house. And it's very innocent. And we do pray for the homeless every Tuesday and Thursday. Our classrooms pray for our outreach and our homeless guests. And, and we also, a lot of preschools have uniforms that their teachers wear. And I encourage my teachers to dress themselves, to express themselves. And it gives the kids a chance to see that we come to work not because we have to come to work. We all work for many reasons. Yeah. We come to work because we love to come to work, and working is healthy, and we want them to see us put together. And this is what it is to get up and go and do a job. And if we don't come do our job, then we could be homeless. And that's what it means to be homeless. So they have a very innocent outlook on it. And they're always so concerned, because we don't, we have this same talk with the parents. If they see a homeless guest going down the street, you have a child in front of you, we ask you to please be kind. If there's any issues, just let us know, but your child's watching you. And so that starts the generation of, are we going to be respectful to this other human being? Or is my child going to watch me lash out and say inappropriate things? So
that gives me goosebumps.
It's interesting you say, I want to kind of interject here. I get an opportunity to speak at schools at times, and anytime I've gotten to speak to young children, that I'm talking about maybe that third grade and below, I'll usually do like a little presentation, and I'll show pictures of homeless people, and my picture is in there. And so I'll say, who do you know who do you think is homeless and has been homeless and what have you? They're always shocked to hear that I was one of them. But what's also interesting, I said, well, I tell them, tell me what you know about homeless people. And here's the things I hear. They're lazy. They're drug addicts. They're criminals. They're all these things. And the first time it happened, I thought to myself, how in the world would a child of that age have an opinion on what a homeless person is? And then I realized all they're doing is repeating what they've heard. You aren't born knowing any of this stuff. It's a learned behavior. Unfortunately, if you watch social media enough, you'll notice that learned behavior can stick with you for a lifetime. But it's really sad. And so to be able to realize that Megan and her team are helping these kids as a generation to demonstrate what empathy looks like, to demonstrate what healthy lives look like, is a really big deal to me personally. I mean, if I had to stop everything I'm doing, that would be the Firm Foundation would be the one thing that'd be the last ship to go down, if you will, because it's that important to me.
Megan, is there anything that you want to add that I haven't asked, or anything that you want to share about the Firm Foundation?
Well, we could be here all night.
We could, right? You did tell me you had 6 pages of notes, which I love.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'm asked, why do you stay in early childhood? We know that there is a drought right now of highly qualified teachers to work in early childhood. And we want to hire and have the best team that we can. And my answer to them is, it's because it's the best work there is to do. And I truly believe that in my heart, that these children deserve the very best. And that setting this foundation and building this firm foundation for them, this will last them a lifetime. So we remind them that on their hardest days, God loves you. On your best days, God loves you. And on your weakest days, God loves you even more. And we just want them to go through this life, with this firm foundation that they've built here, knowing that they were loved. They're always going to be loved. They're safe. The learning is really fun. And that we are so happy that they come there every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And, for the folks in the community that, kind of question, well, do I want my children to go to school with children who are coming out of this? Are there behavior concerns? Behavior is communication. And whether you live on one side of the street or the other side of the street, children are going to behave. So I tell families, come see our school, come inside, meet our teachers, and just see the smiles on the kids' faces. That will speak volumes, and that'll help you make your decision. So
I love that. I love everything that you're saying. It's so important. And you're not only changing the lives of the kids, but I feel like it has, I'm sure, and it will continue to spill over into the family because kids teach us something every day. So for you to teach them that firm foundation is absolutely amazing. Scott, the last episode we talked about the annual budget that's required. Is the Firm Foundation included in that? Or how does the Firm Foundation
It is.
operate?
We have a lot of our children, do be are scholarshiped in one way or the other, whether it's full or partial. We have people that I call pay a full bore. They understand that, and they're help offsetting the costs of these other children. So, some people think, oh, it's an income stream. Well, not really. It helps. We get some in. Megan's very frugal, and she can squeeze. She can squeeze blood out of Lincoln's on a penny. Okay, but she's frugal, but she's smart, and I always say to her, I said, tell me what you need, tell me what you want, and tell me also, if you could just have anything, what is it? Mm-hmm. And then my hope is trying to, sometimes I can sit there and go, oh, we can do that. We got a plan for that. Ooh, that's a big one. There's a few things that I know she and I both want to see done that we'd hoped would happen by now, but we're dealing in a very strange economy. And so we've had to pull back on some of our growth that we'd like to do. But I believe all those things are going to happen in good time and in God's time. And, it's just, there's a lot of people that open schools there's churches that open schools to help keep the church open. There's money to be made. If anybody has a child in preschool, it's crazy. And then you throw Montessori on top of that. It's like, woo, okay, how do you do that? But people pay a lot of money. And so we look at it as an investment into our future and to the future as an investment into our community. And I try to get people in the community to understand that when they support Matthew's Hope, and whether specifically Firm Foundation or Matthew's Hope as a whole, they aren't just donating, they're investing in the community. And we want to be able to show a return to them on their investment. Anything you put money towards, you should see a return on your investment. And I think that if they see the children that come through here and how some of those children have gone on, and we've had schools that have literally given scholarships to our graduating students because first off, Johnny already knows how the system works. It's like having an extra teacher in the room. But to think that we planted that seed for something that could continue on through that child's life into adulthood, that's huge. And I don't think anybody can overstate how huge that is. And so whatever the money is, we're going to keep trying to figure it out and make sure that we offer the very best. Because I want these kids, I truly believe these kids, I believe Firm Foundation is raising the leaders of the future.
Well, I love
nothing against anybody else's school. There's some good schools out there.
Yeah.
But our kids have seen the world from a whole different perspective than many children will ever see it from. Yeah. And I think that makes them very special, whether people believe that or not. I believe that with my whole heart.
Well, I loved meeting you, Megan, and thank you for sharing. I'm sure we could sit here at the table for hours and learn so much more about it. But if somebody did want to learn more about the Firm Foundation outside of this podcast, where can they go to get that information?
They can contact our office.
Okay.
They can email me directly.
Okay.
And they can visit our website.
Great. And then they can come and take a tour. You were mentioning.
Absolutely.
That's great.
We love showing off the school.
We do. And
like
I schedule our tours in the middle of our morning work cycles.
Fun.
So that families can see the kids doing what we do. It's always a fun time. So
that's great. And there's an event coming up. Does that help to fund the preschool as well?
Our fall fundraisers. On September 28th, we have the Roaring 20s. With gaming and a lot of fun stuff. It'll be great. And then on November 9th in our Brevard location, we have we're calling it a speakeasy.
Okay.
And what's fun is we try to get the whole staff involved. It gets tricky sometimes because, again, you're limited budgets, you're limited, you're trying to, it's hard to make money in a fundraiser anymore. So we try to make it a great experience, but raise money at the same time. But I can always tell you that Megan and her team always go all out to make sure that whatever the themes are going on, those girls are rocking it. And yes, this preschool does benefit from all those things we do, because we really try to use that night also to help people understand all the things we do. Some people know us just for the preschool. Others know us just for the Hope Chest store here. And all of a sudden when they realize that the basis of it all is a homeless ministry, some people have a hard time putting that together. Yeah. And so those special nights allow us to put that together and raise awareness to what's going on in our community too.
I love that.
So, and we need sponsors.
Okay.
So if you visit our website, this is where I'll look at the camera, visit our website and give us a call. We can't do this without sponsors. We've had great sponsors in the past. We expect that to continue in the future. And, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun also.
Definitely. Well, thank you for hosting that. And I'm excited to see you and the team come out, Megan. It'll be a lot of fun. Everybody dressing up and gaming.
Well, Megan likes playing dress up.
Oh, good. Don't we all?
Megan kind of does dress up for work sometimes. That's why I say, folks, here's what you need to know. Okay, this is when I'm going to look in the camera. Who else do you know that says they're having a swell day? Okay. When I first met Megan and she says something about having a swell day, I looked at her and go, what? She says, have a swell day. And I go, yeah, I know what you said. I said, do you grow up with the Cleavers or what? Who's your parents? Where swell? What?
I love it.
But at that moment, it's like, okay, this girl's special. I didn't know special how, but special. And I said, okay, we gotta look into this. And she is the absolute right person.
I love it.
Thank you, because I don't tell you often enough. We were joking that we don't get to see each other that often, because just craziness and life and busyness and I don't get a chance to tell you often enough how much I love you and how important you are to who we are as a ministry. You are one of my rock stars, and I appreciate you. It makes me, I sleep because I don't, as long as Megan, I call her one of my blankies. Shelley's one of my blankies. It's those people that, if I know they're in place, I'm okay. Okay. The world is still spinning in the proper direction. If they're all in place, that's when I wrap up my blankie and I'm okay. So beautiful. Thank you for being my blankie.
That's swell, Scott.
That's
really
swell.
I'm honored, truly.
Well, again, thank you,
Swell.
Megan.
Thank you.
And if you or know somebody who would benefit from the Firm Foundation, or if you want to support the Firm Foundation, please go to social media, go to their website, and reach out to Megan, schedule a tour, and we hope to see you on the Roaring 20s, right? That's what it's called, the Roaring 20s?
Yeah. Oh, can I throw one more thing in here?
Of course.
Here's something else cool that we do with the school that we didn't talk about. But if you have something that you think might interest our children, I mean, we've had people come out and do all kinds of things. We've had them read to the kids. We've had them sing to the kids. We've had yoga. We've had all kinds of stuff. So if somebody has a business or a passion for something, I do encourage you to contact Megan and see how we might be able to work that into our curriculum, because we love to give the kids opportunities they may not otherwise ever get. Not get at another school, but get period.
Sure.
So
That's great.
sorry to mean to interrupt you, but that was
listen,
important.
This is great. All right.
That was swell on my part.
That was
That
really
was super swell.
super
That was super swell.
almost splendid.
Almost splendid. There you go.
You want to keep going? This is kind of fun.
We could.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Please like, subscribe, and share.